It was the morning of July 26, 1974, in Race Point Dunes in Provincetown, Massachusetts. A 12-year-old little girl named Leslie McCaff, her family, and a group of friends along with their dog walked back to the Provincetown Visitor Center after a date at the beach. Suddenly, the dog became excited and agitated and took off running ahead of them, in which Leslie ran after the dog, following him and leaving the adults. When catching up with the dog, McCaff made a shocking discovery of a nude woman's body decomposing in the scrub pines and about 15 feet from the nearest access road. It was believed that the woman had to have been between her 20s and 30s. She was face down on a green beach towel. Her head rested on a pair of folded Wranglers and a blue bandana. But it was also visible that the left side of her head had been completely crushed and was also partially decapitated. The police were notified about the shocking discovery, and while investigating the crime scene, it was believed that the woman's body had been out there for at least 10 days, but could have possibly been out there for as long as 3 weeks. Upon closer examination, investigators determined that the head injury was more likely caused by a military entrenchment tool, and they also discovered that she had been sexually assaulted using some sort of wooden block. There were no drugs in her system, and oddly, no signs of struggle. But during the examination, the investigators realized that identifying the woman was going to be a lot harder than they imagined, because it was very clear that the person that murdered this woman did a lot of work to cover things up. They discovered her hands were missing from the body, and a few of her teeth as well. And there were no weapons or fingerprints at the scene, so they had no fingerprints to identify her. So they started referring to her as the Lady of the Dunes. The one thing that the investigators were able to find was a certain set of footprints around the crime scene that appeared to be of a large man or a possible heavy-set man, but it was hard to determine whether the footprints were of the killer or an innocent person on the beach. The news of the brutal murder was shocking to the community, especially being that Provincetown was best known for its popularity with artists and a flourishing of the LGBTQ+ community. In the weeks that turned into months following, there were 30 detectives that searched around the area of the crime scene for clues, but ended up with no luck. And they also struggled trying to find possible relatives or people who could have seen or known her around the area. They even tried connecting her with female missing persons cases that were already in the system, but they got nothing. On October 19, 1974, the unidentified woman was buried in the St. Peter's Cemetery in Provincetown, with the markers simply saying, "Unidentified female, body found, Race Point Dunes." There have been so many theories with this case over the years, so let's go over a few. A woman in Maryland contacted local police, stating that she believed that the body that was found could have possibly been her sister, who moved to Boston and not long after went missing, but this lead ended up being inconclusive. It was also thought that the unidentified woman could have possibly been Rory Jean Kissinger, a prisoner of the Plymouth County Correctional Facility. She was convicted for dealing drugs and robbing a bank, and she just so happened to escape prison around that time. Also because she just so happened to favor the unidentified woman. But once again, they hit a dead end when a DNA test from Kissinger's mother didn't bring a match. There was also a Canadian woman that came forward about a decade later, revealing that she believed that the unidentified woman was a woman that she had actually witnessed her father strangling while visiting Provincetown in the 1970s. This information was given to investigators, but the woman had moved by the time they decided to speak with her. Crime writer Sandra Lee made a shocking claim stating that she had actually saw the body before it was seen by others and reported when she was in Provincetown with her family at the age of 9. She stated that she was walking her dog as well when discovering the body. Out of fear and shock, she decided to not say anything to anyone. And although she was able to describe the gruesome scene, many have been unsure about these claims. But one of the most well-known theories that was suggested by author and son of Stephen King, Joe Hill, is that the woman was an extra in the Steven Spielberg legendary hit film, Jaws. In one of the scenes in the movie, there was a young woman wearing a blue bandana on her head who favored the unidentified woman, and it just so happened that Jaws was being filmed in Martha's Vineyard, which was not far from the town. But unfortunately, the producers of the film did not have a record of all of the extras, a part of the film, which led investigators once again to a dead end. As for who murdered this young woman, there have also been theories about that as well. There was a theory that was brought to light by Sandra Lee once again, that the person who could have possibly murdered this young woman was notorious South Boston crime boss James Whitey Bulger. She believed this was a possibility due to Lee's father being an associate of his, and believed that she recognized the style of the murder being similar to the murder of Debbie Davis, who was alleged to be one of Whitey's victims as well. Debbie Davis's body was dismembered, her teeth and her hands were removed, and she was also left in a marshy area. But Whitey was never officially connected to the case. It's been 47 years, and investigators still look into the case, trying to find new possibilities, hoping to finally identify this woman. But sadly, to this day, the case of the Lady of the Dunes remains unsolved.